The Road is a 2006 post-apocalyptic novel by American writer Cormac McCarthy. The book follows the harrowing journey of a father and his young son over several months as they traverse a desolate landscape ravaged by an unspecified catastrophe that has wiped out industrial civilization and nearly all forms of life. All right, so a couple months ago, also during my AP literature class in senior year, another novel that we read was Cormac McCarthy's The Road. This was another insightful read that I very much enjoyed as well, and discussing with classmates, of course. This was a Pulitzer Prize winner too, so it won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction back in 2007, I believe. And yeah, I guess I'll just share sort of my brief review on it. Of course, it's acclaimed and it's cherished by critics and audiences alike. And I too found it to be a very powerful and emotional story centered on survival, on love, and especially more specifically the enduring bond between father and son, both of whom remain nameless throughout the novel. They're just referred to as the man and son, the man and the boy actually, which I guess could already be interpreted as a symbol for, I guess, like universal figures of humanity that persist through a post-apocalyptic environment. I'm sure that's why McCarthy maybe omitted their names just to display like a universal relationship and stuff. But yeah, this is one of those types of books that could be dissected for days, which I already kind of have. But overall, I found this book to be quite dark and quite gritty. Often depressing too, to be honest, yet it is interwoven with glimmers of hope and humanity. It's a very thought-provoking and layered read, encouraging lots of deep reflection on life, on sacrifice, and just the nature of good and evil. The characters themselves, when reading this book, I thought a lot about like The Last of Us. I think that's the perfect comparison to make with this book. Of course, The Road was made before The Last of Us, but both of them, with Joel and Ellie, you sort of see the same dynamic with the man and the boy. Just one figure sort of representing this fatherly figure trying to protect the other person. And the lengths that they go through morally as well. They're very morally ambiguous characters, Joel and the man respectively. And so, yeah, it's just really interesting just to see the types of behaviors that these characters have and types of lengths that they will go to protect their respective, person that they're trying to protect. But yeah, I found reading this to also be quite relatable and also quite timely as well, especially because, this was read during moments of societal upheaval that still, of course, perpetuate today. But I'm more specifically referring to like the post-COVID-19 pandemic. But obviously nowadays, like isolation has sort of lessened, quarantine no longer exists. But I think during like the peak of the pandemic, I think people's moral compasses were tested and moral scales for sure were tested as well. But yeah, I guess the book, when reading, it's very repetitive in tone. It mirrors monotony and uncertainty of life, but also shows that although life is monotonous, it is constantly evolving, much like reality itself. It's always evolving. And what I mean by monotony as well, the book is very thin on dialogue. It's very, very thin. But I think when there is dialogue, it is often very genius and reflective. But yeah, I guess there's also not too much to talk about anyways when the characters themselves are under constant threat from like these roaming gangs of cannibals and like starvation itself, and under the threat of maybe exposure to an unknown disease. We don't even know what caused this post-apocalyptic environment, which is why I think this book is so like general and so like simple. That's what makes it so universal. Like the characters are nameless, the struggles that they go through could exist in any post-apocalyptic environment. The relationships are also universal as well. I mean, yeah, it is just a book that could be replicated in any type of situation. Or like the events that occur in this book could be replicated in any type of situation. And I think that's what makes it such an interesting read, but also scary read as well. Just showing how, like, I don't know, how rubbish human beings are. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's not an easy read. I think it would be potentially challenging for those who don't necessarily possess critical thinking skills or don't really possess the openness to actually explore deeper meaning. I could sort of see someone that grows tired and weary of reading this just because of how sort of non-existent the plot is. There's not really much that happens, or like, the goal that, or like, I guess a recurring theme in this novel that the man says to the boy is carrying the fire. And that's sort of like a metaphor that's persists throughout the novel. And I guess carrying the fire sort of means just getting through day by day, taking one step after the other on the road, which I'm sure that's what that represents as well. And so, but yeah, I mean, it gets repetitive for sure. And there's not really a goal that they seek. I think a goal that they did have was like to seek out the ocean. They were heading towards the water. But that's basically it. It's really just like running away from gangs of cannibals and then scavenging, running away, scavenging, eating little, sleeping little, running away, scavenging, and it's just back and forth, sort of, or it's just like a cycle. And I think the phrase "Are you okay?" is probably repeated like at least 500 times. So yeah, I mean, I'm probably making this seem out to be like it's not that good of a book, but it really is brilliant in its own way. And yeah, I'm still grateful to have this type of novel a part of my high school curriculum for sure. It actually tied very well into our existentialism unit that we had, where we were talking about like all the different philosophies related to existentialism and how Cormac McCarthy's The Road in of itself is an existentialist art piece. But yeah, I mean, it leaves a lasting impression for sure. And I think this book invites readers to consider what can be learned from loss, from endurance, from change. Yeah, I mean, Cormac McCarthy is quite the genius. I think this entire novel could also be like an allegory on the human psyche, but I don't think it will be revealed to the reader until the very last few final pages. Again, we dissected this book so much when we read it in high school that I have like so many different interpretations that I obviously won't spoil, but I think the last few final pages themselves sort of show a turn, a turn in the dynamic in the human psyche. And it could honestly spawn a sequel, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure there isn't one, nor do I think it deserves one. But yeah, I just realized this also kind of reminds me of 28 Years Later, which is a movie I saw recently in terms of the whole father and son dynamic. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to give The Road an 8 out of 10. I still think it's a phenomenal read. I highly suggest it. But that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed. See ya.